Hi there, I just thought I'd make a video to help you if you're isolating at home, to help your child have a better understanding of maths, number, counting and just general number skills. The first stage that we look at is learning some number names. So this happens quite early on. So it's when they start repeating number names and they might hear people say number names and repeat them back to you. At this stage, they don't have an understanding of what number names mean. They haven't got it in any kind of sequence. At this point, it doesn't really mean too much to them. The stage that we start looking at really at school is number sequencing. So this means singing songs maybe to help them understand to count from 1 to 5 maybe, 1 to 10, 1 to 20, which is where they need to be by the end of this year. So a way we do that at school is singing lots of songs. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. And there's lots of other songs on YouTube that you can find, really catchy songs that will encourage your child to learn how to count in sequence, which is a really important skill for them to learn for their later maths understanding. I can link some videos below to help with this because it's really important. Hopefully by the end of the year or maybe before then, they'll be able to count without relying on those number songs, but they're a really good place to start. And then the next stage is one-to-one correspondence, which all that means is the child begins to count a group of objects using the number sequence they've learned. So it's pointing to an object one at a time and knowing to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now at school, what we say is put it in a line and count it slowly one at a time and encourage them to touch the object. You can do this with anything at home. You could do it with toys, with pegs from the washing line, anything at home, doesn't matter. But just encourage that skill of them pointing to each object, saying it slowly and understanding that they need to say it in order. At this point, they may not understand where they need to stop. So this is called cardinal value. So cardinal value just means that they need to know when they stop counting at the last object, this is the total, which seems like something that we don't obviously think about as adults, or we don't think about children having to learn. But some children will continue to count maybe, or when they're counting out, they might not remember that they need to stop. So for example, when we're counting out at school, we make them lock it in their head, the number that they need to stop at. So if I say to a child, right, you need to count 5 toys out of the box, I would say to them, right, lock it in your head, number 5, lock, and you have to stop when you say number 5. That's quite a difficult skill. So they might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they haven't understood that they need to stop when they've got to that number. In the same sense as when they're counting objects in a line, they might not understand that the last number they get to is the total of how many objects they've got. So they might count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then if you say, so how many toys have you got all together? They might not be able to tell you how many they've got because they don't understand that stopping point is the total. So what you can do for them is really modelling that counting. So as well, something I like to do is count in front of the children, and then when you get to the last object, tell them to tell you to stop. So when they tell you to stop, you'll say, okay, what number did you stop on? Or what number did I stop on? And they should be able to say, well, you stopped on number 5. And then you say, okay, so how many have I got all together? And if they can't tell you the answer, you say 5. I stopped on 5, so I've got 5 all together. So hopefully over time they'll begin to realise, oh, so the number we stop on is the number of objects we've got all together. And as well, when they're counting out, just modelling, I'm locking 5 in my head, counting out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, stop. I locked 5 in my head, so I know that's when I need to stop, and I know that altogether I have 5. So repeating that over and over and over again till it clicks in their head, because it will. They might already have this skill, they might still be developing it, but it's just about that positive praise, modelling, just really encouraging those kinds of skills. So it's hard because it might not be something that we think about as adults. So it's really important just to have that awareness. Another stage is visualisation. So visualisation is just understanding that number can represent different things. For example, taking the number 5 again, there are 5 cakes on my plate. I am 5 years old. We get the number 5 bus into town. So all of these different variations of the representations of number in their head can be really confusing for the children. So they may need other ways to visualise, like 5 fingers, or seeing 5 on a dice, or 5 counters, or the number 5 on the bus. Just having all those different ways that they can represent 5 in their head. What you can do to help them understand this is just spotting things in the environment, counting things as you're, cooking at home maybe, or as you're tidying things away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then maybe even other things like on the clock, there's a number 5. You're changing channel, you can see the number 5. On the remote control, there's a number 5, just so that they begin to build an awareness that number can represent lots and lots of different things, and just trying to talk that through with them as much as you can. So maybe if you're going on, well, perhaps if you're isolated, you're not going on walks, but if you're going on walks, you might spot a number 4 on a door, and you can just say, oh, what number's that? They live at number 4. Board games are a really good way of developing number, with dice and things like that. So it's just integrating maths into their everyday life as much as possible, so that they do start to understand that maths isn't just about counting out. It isn't just what we do in school. Maths is everywhere. Another stage is subtising. So all that means is being able to look at a group of numbers and understand that, and be able to estimate that there are 3 things there. So they have this visualisation of 3 in their head, and oh, there are 3 toys there, and they know that without counting 1, 2, 3. That might come later on with more and more practice. What you can do is encourage children to estimate, which we just say at school is a sensible guess. So make a sensible guess or estimate how many toys are here, and count them out with them just to check. And it's about positive praise, whether they get it right or wrong. It's just encouraging that skill of estimation so that they can improve their subtising, which is just being able to know how many numbers are in a set. It's a really important skill which will really benefit them over time. Not necessarily something they need to know by the end of the year, but it will really help them if they do. And finally, understanding that we are counting forwards, backwards, finding fewer or more. So again, this is just using everyday language and maths. So there are 5 bananas in the bowl. Are there enough for everyone in the family? We saw more ducks in the pond today than we did yesterday. Let's share out these toys between us. Let's share out this food between us. This is something that does come a lot later on. It's using that maths for everyday problem solving. So it's understanding that there can be more numbers along a number line maybe, or less, knowing that we're counting backwards on a number line, that one group is bigger, one group is smaller. So it's just about developing their language of maths, and again, taking away, as important as it is, taking away all of the focus from being counting, because again, it's such an important skill, but we need to broaden their idea of maths and their understanding of number so that it's in a real life context, and they can begin to understand that there are lots and lots of different ways that we can encounter number in our everyday life. I hope that's helped. I know a lot of what I've talked about you'll already know, but it's hard to remember sometimes as adults how we learn when we were that young and the stages that we develop our understanding of numbering. So it can be quite helpful when you're trying to help your child at home, just to have an awareness of these stages and just ways that you can help your child. There's also shape, space and measure, so that's something that we really need to focus on as well. So just knowing their shapes, being able to describe their shapes, knowing things are taller or shorter than other things, talking about weight, so is this heavier, or let's hold our 2 apples or our apple and our orange, which is heavier, which one's pushing down in our hand more, which is harder to lift up. Capacity, so which glass is full, which glass is empty, which glass has more in, which glass is overflowing, just that everyday language. Same with time, so this morning we're going to go to the shops, then we're going to have lunch. After that we're going to do some maths, just using that everyday language. At 2 o'clock we're going to ring a family member and have a chat with them. So even though they might not have that understanding of telling the time, just introducing it into their everyday language and getting them used to hearing it. I'll put some activities and different things you can do online below. There's lots of amazing games that can help develop all of these skills. One that I find really great is Bud's Number Garden. It's on BBC, I'll link it below, but it's really great for developing skills, particularly to do with number. I'll link some of the ones about describing things that are longer, shorter, and bigger, smaller. But yeah, I'll put them all below. So thank you very much for listening. I hope it wasn't too long and boring, but I hope you're back at school very soon. Take care. We'll see you very soon.